Hello, Lily. Are you all ready for TET? Yeah. Hello, Paris. Hello, Paris. Unbelievable. She just leaves and doesn't even wave. Unbelievable. Now, is that my volume that's so low and I can't hear you very well, or is it your volume? Exit full screen. Check my... No, I'm jacked up. So it's your volume. Can you turn your volume up?
Yeah.
So, today is Friday. Did you have school today?
No, today's Saturday.
Today's Saturday. Did you have school yesterday?
Yes.
Did you have school today?
No.
Are you on holidays now?
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll be off for what, 2 weeks? Or when do you go back to school? Not next week, but the week after, or even longer? Do you know what date you're going back to school?
I don't know. My teacher will chat on the chat team on Zalo.
On the group for parents and stuff.
Yeah.
So 25, 21. Yeah, because we won't have a class next weekend, of course. So I hope we'll have a class in 2 weeks' time, but maybe not. I don't know. I'll leave that to Lei. She manages the scheduling. Earth base. Any news from Milo? I already texted Milo. There's the message. So. So are you going to go to your hometown or your grandparents for TET, or are all your family members there in Comfa?
I don't know.
What do you usually do at TET? You have the TET dinner at your house, or do you go to your grandparents or something? Or do your grandparents live with you?
My grandparents live with me.
Okay, so it's grandma, grandpa, mom, and dad, you, and the kids. A lot of people in the family. The house get noisy?
Yeah, really noisy.
Yeah. Does your grandma and grandpa tell you what to do all the time?
No,
Just
not too
your mom?
often.
So who tells you what
Just
to
my
do?
mom.
Your mom. Your dad doesn't?
Just my mom.
Just your
My
mom.
dad doesn't.
Dad says, I don't want to know. It's up to you, mommy. Okay, let's go to our lesson. Today we are going to do wild creatures. So lots of unusual creatures around the world. So it should be interesting. So let's get started. Interest 22, Wild Creatures. Lesson 8, Saturday the 14th, January 2023. Unbelievable.
Camel.
Yeah. First ones, of course. The first three are very easy, but they are animals we'll be talking about. A camel. Yeah. Would you like to visit the desert and ride a camel and see the pyramids?
No.
No, why?
Because I hate the hot weather.
You hate the hot weather.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you went in the wintertime, it might be a little bit cooler. You don't think it would be amazing to go there, ride a camel, see the pyramids, see the desert? I thought you wanted to travel.
No. I prefer to stay at home.
You prefer to stay at home?
Yeah.
And play games. Oh my God, that's not good. You got to see the world. You told me once, I think it was in a test. I think it was about something you dreamt about doing in the future. And you said you wanted to get a really good job, make lots of money, and you wanted to take your mother around the world to travel, and you wanted your dad to stay home and feed the dog.
But not travel to the desert.
But not to the desert. So where would you travel? What would be the
I don't
first?
know.
What would be one of the first places you'd like to visit?
Paris maybe.
France and Paris. Do some shopping. Okay. They have winters there. I would like to go to Egypt to see. Be a tourist. Just go for a few days. Take a camel ride. Check out the pyramids and go, wow, pretty cool. Take a tour. And then check out some of the food. And then move on to somewhere else. Okay. Next one, of course, is easy again. What is that? Exercise. What is that animal? The horse family.
Oh my God. Sometimes I forgot.
Yeah, well, there's one that's confusing, too. There's 2 small horses in that family. I'm going to check while you're thinking about it. Yeah, well, there's a good picture of
Donkey?
Yeah, a donkey. A donkey is what this one is. Now, I always get they do look a little different. And they have this line. Even on Google here, it shows that the donkey has this black dorsal line along its shoulders here. See, he has one, the other one has one. It's kind of like one zebra stripe. I never noticed that before, but then again, I've never been around any donkeys, I don't think. The pony doesn't have that. Oh, there's a mule here too. Short tail, long tails, height, slightly curved backs. So the donkey's back is not curved as much as a mule. But a mule is a donkey, I think. Are ponies part of donkeys? Okay, let's see what it says here. Are donkeys and ponies the same? Okay. Horses, donkeys, zebras are entirely separate species. Okay, so they're totally different species. Horses, donkeys, and zebras. But they didn't say anything about the pony. So they are cousins. They all evolved from the same family, but they are very different species, according to this. Oh, there she is. Milo is here. Milo. Hello, Milo.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm so tired.
You what? Tired again?
Tired because I wake up not early. I wake up late.
You woke up early. Did you have school today?
No, I don't.
No school today. You're on holidays now too.
I'm on holiday, but I have to help my mom for house chores.
So I had to do some work around the house. Will you have the Tet dinner, your New Year's, at your house, or will you go somewhere?
I don't know.
Where did you have Tet dinner last year? Do you go visit other relatives, or do you stay at home and have the dinner? Does everybody come there?
I stay at home and have dinner.
What?
I stay at home and have dinner.
You didn't have a New Year last year?
I have dinner. I have dinner, but at home.
At home. So grandma and grandpa, do they live with you too?
Yeah.
Your grandmother and grandfather?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's very common for most, yeah. They all stay together. You never see that in the West. It's crazy. Crazy. So, Lily, you didn't answer me, though. Where did you have Tet dinner the New Year's Eve last year? Right there at your house?
Yeah, right there.
So did other family members come to have dinner with you guys? Uncles, aunts?
Yeah,
Cousins? Okay. So you both usually have the...
my cousin.
Okay. Both of you normally have the dinner and everything at your houses. Okay, cool. Mosquito. You already said that one. Pesky little things. We talked about them last week, about how dangerous these little guys are to all of us. Yeah. Mosquito. So now, after Tet, Milo, there's no more excuse because you're going to get a whole bunch of lucky money. Millions and millions and millions, maybe 10, 20 million. So you're going to go buy a microphone.
The most expensive earphone.
You're going to buy a microphone, right?
It's the most expensive one.
But that's earphones so that you hear me. But I have a good microphone. You need a good microphone because we can't hear you.
I don't know why. I don't know why.
Well, I know why, because you have a crappy microphone. You need a new microphone. That's why.
It's the most expensive, and I don't know what.
But your microphone is right on the headset, right? Right on the cable?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, those are no good. They're okay for hand phones, but they're not good for online classes. You need a separate microphone that's USB that you just plug in and you can put it in front of you and you can talk. All right. This is that unusual crazy bird. Not bird. A bird. It's a bird that lives in the ocean. Now, I think that's a puffer fish, but it looks a lot like this fish. Of course, the last time someone caught one was in 1938. So they are extremely rare. But it looks something like this. And you can see it in your book in this part C, right? It's called a, what is it called again?
I haven't.
Oh, you haven't got your book? Coelacanth. Yeah, it's not a very popular fish. It's not a fish that people see very often. There is a picture of it, as I said, in the book. So when we do our reading, you'll be able to see the picture again if you don't have your book. But what's quite unique about, well, two reasons that they're going to talk about it is that it has like the 3 fins in the back, like this puffer fish. See how it's a bit different? It has 2 fin on the top and on the bottom, and then a long extended one like a rudder, I guess, to direct it. So it's a bit of an unusual breed. It's not like your typical fish. It doesn't look like it would be very fast, but who knows? A large bony mammal fish with a 3 lobed tail fin. So that's what that is there, a 3 lobed tail fin. So if you ever see that again. Fleshly pectoral fins. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 fins. 1 on each side and 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom. It is thought to be related to the ancestors of land vertebrates and was known only from fossils until one found one alive in 1938. Since then, others have been found near the Comoro Islands in the Indian Ocean. Now, I don't know where the Comoro Islands are, other than it's in the Indian Ocean. Comoro Islands. There we go. So oh, wow. So it's been seen way, way down near Madagascar. It's an island between Madagascar and Africa. So I don't know much about that place at all. I never heard of it before at all. I see one town on the coast here. But yeah, it looks like they got all kinds of crazy wildlife. Stingrays, whales, of course, sharks, dolphins, and these guys, the coelacanth. All right. Yeah. So we're going to read about that a little bit. Oh, what's this guy? Who's that guy? This one, they say he lives in Canada and the Rocky Mountains and Northwest USA too. They have another white one that lives in the Himalayas. So people believe. There's no proof yet. No one's ever really caught one or found a dead one. But many people say they've seen it. Well, now I would have to guess if it was real by the descriptions they give and its size, it has to be an ancestor to the apes for sure. And it's partly human. People say it stands up. It's like more than 2 meters tall. It has hands and feet like a human being and arms and legs. Yeah, well, some people just call it Bigfoot. But in North America, we call it a Sasquatch. And then in the Himalayas, they also say that, well, many people have said that they've seen it. Many people have taken pictures, and they say the pictures. Remember, what was it? Well, we had a lesson like this about the Yetis. It was this class, right? We talked about the was it? The yen tiger in England? The Fens tiger. Fen? Was that this class? I'm sure you guys did that lesson. People think there's a tiger living in the countryside of England, the east side. And then the other story in that lesson was about an English explorer who they were climbing Mount Everest. And then they found big footprints that were like 33 centimeters long and really, really big feet. And the footprints went on for like 500 yards and they followed it for a while, but then they stopped. And the locals said that these guys live down in the forest. They don't normally come high up in the snow and in the mountains. They stay hidden in the forests. And they're called Yetis. You ever heard of the Yeti? Some people say that. Okay. Well, it looks something like this, the Yeti. And it's like it's like a big ape-like man, human, really big, much bigger than humans, of course. And it's stories and myths, but many people believe that they really, really exist, but they've never been able to prove it. Right? They found footprints, but people can make footprints. Some people say they found hair. Some people have gotten pictures of them, but the pictures are very, very bad quality. So it's kind of funny, everybody's got an iPhone now or all these amazing phones that do amazing photos and videos, and yet nobody ever has the phone with them when they say they see them. So it's really kind of funny. I don't think they exist. I think if they existed, we would have eventually found one. Someone would have found one. Or at least we would have found a dead body of one, or fossils or something, or skeletons of it. But that's never happened either. So a Yeti and a Sasquatch, often called Bigfoot. And they make lots of stories about them. And people like to tell stories. I wish they were real. It'd be really cool. But who knows? Dun, 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 dun.
If you bite your head.
Well, maybe. Maybe they're violent. Some people think they're like a different race of people that just hide in the forest, that smart enough to never be seen by us. Because there's a lot of human species. We'll talk about human species after we guess this word. So, not known or familiar. It's another word for not known. Right? You don't know who the caller is. What is it?
Unknown.
Unknown, yeah. Pretty simple. Unknown. The things in the universe, most of it is very unknown to us. Someone calls and we don't know the number, then it's an unknown caller. No ID. And I put the oceans here for a couple of reasons. One, of course, there's still lots of areas that haven't been explored in the oceans, even though a lot has now. I don't remember the percentage. And we've pretty much mapped the floor, I think, of the entire ocean. We know where the deepest parts are and shallow parts and all this kind of stuff. But we keep finding, like, the fish, right? All of a sudden we thought it was extinct, and well, there we go. We just caught one in our net. Oh, wow. So surprise, surprise. They find new species all the time that we didn't know existed. And for sailors, it can be very dangerous if you're crossing an ocean, right? The storms could pop up in the middle of nowhere. Big waves and thunderstorms. Traveling in the unknown. Dangerous. So, species. I was saying about the Sasquatches, the Bigfoots, the Yetis. And us, right? Asians and Arabs and blacks and whites, Caucasians, they call them. We're all Homo sapiens, right? We are of the descendants or the species called Homo sapiens. The way our eyes are, our skin color and all that is melanin, different. It's a gene that we have in our skin. One scientist explained it saying that it's where our ancestors grew up. The people who grew up closer to the equator, the center of the earth, experiences 2 or 3 different kind of UV rays from the sun, and it makes you darker, of course, especially over centuries, because the melanin is stronger. They actually suggested or said that the darker your skin is, the healthier your skin is, really high in vitamin D and stuff. And that the whiter you are, the less healthy your skin is, that you're more subject to having skin disease in the future, or cancer, skin cancer, and different things. So they explained it basically. I'm white because my ancestors for like 1 million years, or however long, hundreds of thousands of years, were northern people. I mean, my roots can be traced down to northern Europeans for sure. You know, I got the bluish eyes, blondish, reddish hair. I'm as white as could be. You can't even see my eyebrows. They look the same color as my skin. And when I grow a beard, I have to grow it for 3 weeks before you can even see it. It's there, but you can't even see it because it looks like my skin. Finally, now though, you can see it more because it's all white. Getting older. But anyhow, that's how I know where my origins are, right? Because of my features. Of course, people of very dark skin are mostly from Africa, around, in Vietnam, Malaysians, and lots of Indonesians and Filipinos are often darker than Vietnamese. And then when you go up to China, if you go all the way up to Beijing, the locals there, that generation after generation, the Koreans and the Japanese, they have the full winters up there. You'll notice that their skin is much whiter than the Southern Asians. And there's a lot of differences. We see a black guy and we say, oh, African. But Africa is a big continent, and they have many different races amongst the black people there. They're not all the same origins. I say that, but yet, according to some studies that I've read and listened to, and some lectures from some university professors, is that all of us, I was getting the species here, so I guess I'll start going backwards in time. All the people in the world, our ancestors, right? Your great thousands and thousands of years ago, grandparents, and Milo's thousands of years ago, and mine, and people in Africa, and people in Europe, and Arabs. It is believed, I think quite factual, I believe now, that all human species started in Eastern Africa, like all the Somalia areas, Kenya's, and the safaris down there where all the lions and stuff live now, that all people come from there. That's where we first, the tribes, we started evolving and coming out of trees and walking on the plains and moving around. And eventually we started figuring out how to hunt. And eventually we learned how to make fire. And we were evolving from there. But many different species. Apparently there were like 6 or 7 different human species. There's us, which is the only surviving one. Now, did the other ones die out? Did we fight and kill the other ones? Like sometimes it happens, because there were the Neanderthals, right? They were one of those. They were here, I think, 10,000 years ago or something. I could be completely wrong. I'll put the information when I edit the class about when it's believed that the Neanderthals went extinct. In Russia, through Japan and the northeastern Asia, was a race called the Denisovan, I think that's how we say it. So yeah, there was a lot of different species back then. That was my big point. And that's that. I'll put some information in here later. Right. Well, these ones not anymore. Yeah, exist. I think that's what you said. Yeah, today dinosaurs don't exist anymore, right? They all died out about 60-some million years ago with the asteroid impacts and different things. And then there was some major climate change, which the world goes through all kinds of different climate changes over the thousands and thousands or millions of years. They think the world is what, like 4.2 or 4.8 billion years old, something like that. But, you go back 60 million years ago, it was a very, very different Earth, very different oxygen, very different levels of carbon dioxides and everything. They think that the age of the dinosaurs, like 60 million to 175 million years ago or something like that, at that time, there was much more CO2 in the air, because CO2 gets eaten by, if a room has high CO2, the plants get bigger. That's what I understand. And they think that the atmosphere, it would have been a lot hotter, I think, back then. But everything grew much, much bigger, right? Like our great white sharks were megalodons. They were like bigger than a bus. And our chickens were terror birds that were like 3 meters tall that could eat people. We had crocodiles that were super crocs. They found them in the desert in Malay in Africa. And how did a huge dinosaur the length of a bus, a super croc, die in the middle of the desert in the Sahara? Well, because the Sahara, I don't remember how many thousands of years ago, but not that long ago, was a rainforest. And from what I understand, it looked just like the Congo desert or jungle, and just like the Brazilian. I don't remember how long, a few thousand years ago, not millions of years ago, just a few thousand. But it's because there were lots of rivers and lakes going through Africa then. So they had crocodiles in those areas, and they had the super crocs back then. So the world has changed a lot. Yeah. But thank God these things only happen over 1 million years or more, or 200 million years. And for us, from the time our great-great-grandparents are born to the time our great-great-grandchildren are born, not much changes in a few hundred years. It takes tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of years to see big changes. So they're very, very slow. Very, very slow. It was what? Some between 30, 40, and 50,000 years ago that we were in an ice age, which all the northern places, Canada and Europe, are all frozen over, and Russia and down into China. Most of the people lived in Vietnam and around the equator, because that's where there wasn't an ice age. And the south, all the way up to Australia, the southern part of Australia was frozen, and Argentina and those places were frozen. But that's when people, remember, who could walk across and hunt from Russia, Asia continent, walk over and into North America, which are the Native Americans and the First Nation people today. And that's how people could walk from Vietnam and walk all the way down to Australia. And that's how the Aboriginal people of Australia, I don't know the proper name for them, how they got there. They originally came from Africa and followed India and followed down through Malaysia and down through Indonesia and over into Papua New Guinea and then into Australia. But then when all the ice melted, I've heard different numbers, but I've heard that it's somewhere between 40 meters and 80 meters that over a period of a few thousand years, when the ice was melting and was leaving France and leaving England, because England was under ice 3 times in the last 200,000 years, because when the ice melts, the oceans get more water and the oceans rose. So that's why Indonesia and the Philippines and all these places turned into islands, because the water came up. That's why they can find lost civilizations under the water along the coast of many countries. But during the Ice Age, the water went way down. Makes sense. And then there were land bridges. You could walk to different places back then. But we'll never see an Ice Age, unfortunately. I wish we could, but we won't. Do you think life exists beyond our galaxy? What do you think, Milo? Do you think there's other life out there in that universe, somewhere in one of those stars? Do you think there's life out there somewhere?
I believe.
Don't know. What do you think, Lily?
I don't know.
Well, nobody.
But I guess no.
I like the way one scientist explained it, because I think there has to be. I can't believe, like, from what I understand here is, like, what we're looking at is the end of our galaxy, right? Our galaxy has like a billion, is it a billion solar systems? Like, our solar system is the sun and our 8 planets, right? That's big, really big. And there's like a billion suns in our galaxy, the Milky Way, hundreds of millions or a billion. And what I understand is there are hundreds of millions or billions of galaxies in the universe. So, I mean, it's just like almost infinite, like it never ends. And what I understand is if you go up north or down south or in the mountains and you look up at the sky, this is what it looks like. You have to be away from the cities, and it has to be in the wild where you can see a clear sky, no lights around you. And then you can see the sky like this. And it's just trillions of stars. And I'm not an astronomer, but what I understand is every star you see here, yeah, you see all these white stars? Each one of those stars is a sun, not planets. These are suns, not a planet. We don't see the planets, right? We don't see Mars. We don't see Pluto and Saturn. Maybe once a year it comes in and the light is reflecting against it. Oh, that we can see that planet now, a small star in the sky. These are, and it takes millions and hundreds of millions of years for us to see them. That's how long the light takes to travel through speed of light. That's how far they are away, like trillions of miles away, trillions. Like some of these stars may have already exploded 100 million years ago, but we just don't see it yet because the light hasn't got here yet. The light hasn't went out yet. It's still traveling because it's so far. So, and we know that the right conditions, if you have a planet with the right gases from the right distance from a sun, life will grow, right? Because none of the other planets that we know of in our solar system has life. Only Earth has thriving life, right? Plants and everything. The other ones, they're too close or they're too far. But if these are all suns and they all have planets and they're all doing the same thing as our solar system, I think, and the scientists said, we would be crazy to think that somewhere, millions and millions of light years away from us, that somewhere in the galaxy or the universe, there's another planet out there that has life that would be similar to Earth. You see what I mean? Like the odds. I think the odds are millions to 1 that there isn't any other life out there. Now, are they in the caveman stage? Are they way advanced than us? Are they like humans? Are they the lions that had the DNA that turned into the leading species on the planet? Maybe it's a water world. Maybe they have talking whales. Who knows? But on our Earth, we have human species that are 3 feet tall. We have some human species that are all 7 foot tall. We have some that are white, some that are black. Look at all the animals and all the bugs and all the fish, millions of species and plants and trees on our one planet. I think somewhere out there, far, 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 far away, there's life. How could we be the only planet? That's crazy. So what do you think? You think it's possible there's another planet out there somewhere with life?
I think so.
Yeah, maybe. It's hard to think that we're the only ones in the whole universe. That's hard to believe. Very hard to believe. There are many people that believe that we've already had contact with aliens, that the governments just haven't told us yet. They don't want us to know. But a lot of people believe that. Exist. Yes, I believe life exists somewhere else in the universe. It's too big. And the whole universe is made up of the same energies, the same chemicals, The same neutrons and atoms as our solar system. All of it is built the same. So for sure, life has to grow somewhere else. Not close to us, but somewhere. Somewhere. Has to. It just has to. I believe it.
Similar.
Yeah, we've had this word many times. All these little cubicles are similar, almost the same. Probably same dimensions, but each one make them a little bit different. And the twins, they're not exactly the same. There's going to be little difference. Maybe Mimi has bigger ears than Lily, and maybe Lily has bigger eyes than Mimi, and maybe Lily's nose is a little bit longer than Lily's, and maybe Lily's eyebrows have a little bit more hair than Mimi's or Lily's. And yeah, it's very similar. They look almost the same. Similar. Now, we talked about this now. You see this island over here before I hit play? How green it is. This is a big rainforest island. It's two countries. Half of it on the west here is part of Indonesia, right? Vietnam is here. This is part of, well, I think there's three countries in here. I think part of it belongs to Malaysia. Singapore is down here. Now, let me get my marker here before I hit play, just to give you an idea. Right. So you got Vietnam is something like that, right? To the border here, China, right? This here, I believe there's two parts that are bordered off. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but one is not Bhutan, Bhutan. I can't remember the name, where a rich prince owns this land, rich in oil, and it's his own country, one of the richest people in the world. And over here, there's part of this island, maybe it's bigger, but it belongs to Malaysia over here. Malaysia's in this area, right? And then the islands at the bottom are the separate little country state of Singapore. And then this is Sumatra. This is the highest populated and densely populated island in the world. That is the island of Java. Indonesia. This island has like 250 million people or something crazy like that. Almost 3 times as many people on this one island than all of Vietnam. And the third highest populated country in the world. Only America, I think, is a little bit higher, 300 and some million people. Indonesia is almost 300 million. And then Indonesia is all of this, Kalimantan, the biggest island. This part, I don't know where the border is, but somewhere's in the middle. This is part, and all these islands, all the way up to the Philippines. This is all part of Indonesia. There is one island, either here or here. One of the islands is called Timor, and they got their independence, and they are their own country called East Timor. But I don't know which little island it is over here. Jakarta, where I used to live, one of the biggest cities in the world. I think it's the second highest populated city in the world next to Tokyo, is right there. There's like more than 30 million people in that one city. I lived there for 8 years before coming to Vietnam. Yeah, and it has an incredible amount of islands. I think it's like somewhere between 24 and 26,000 islands makes up all of Indonesia. But over here is another independent country. I don't know if this island belongs to it or not. I don't think so. Now, remember, see how the blue, there's a good example. You see how here it's dark blue, dark blue. And here it's like light blue. Yeah, you see that? Right? Light blue here. Light blue all in here and light blue all in here. You see that, right? You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Right, all this light blue.
Yes.
Light blue all in here, but then the dark blue, all in here, it's darker. The dark blue means how deep the water is. So these are very deep oceans, right? Really, really deep. But the blue means they're not very deep. They're quite shallow. So you can literally see when I said 30, 40, 50, 60,000 years ago, all this light blue was water. Was land. So people, all of this was not ocean. Australia was much bigger then, right? All the way around through here, Papua New Guinea, all the blue here. This was all land. Now, of course, there was a big thing that was connected through here. Vietnam. You could walk across here to this area. Then you could walk to Australia because the oceans were much, much lower. That's what the dark blue and the light blue is telling you about the landscape, the geography. Now, there was always a huge lake in here for sure because it's really dark, so it means it's really deep. There are some areas in here in Indonesia where the water is very, very deep. So those would have been massive, 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 massive lakes during the Ice Age. But the Ice Age would have frozen all the way up into Africa, southern Australia. This would have all been ice. But most people lived in these areas. The ice would have come down to the Himalayas and through China. So all these central areas, right? And the equator, right? The center of the earth goes right through Singapore, right here, yeah? So the center of the earth goes right here. So you can see from here up was all ice. Here down was all ice. However that worked, I'm not sure. But I know the southern parts were frozen, full of ice. But you had all the middle. So most people would have lived there. It'd be hard to live in the ice. But some people do. Some people do. All right, so I just made a really big mess. I'm going to clear that up. And we're going to focus on this country right here. What is that? And it's still very, very tribal. This is what people look like that live there. They don't have any modern cities. It's a very dangerous place to go. They don't like too many foreigners coming to visit them. There's like a bunch of different tribes that live there. So no, don't know that country? This is Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea. That rainforest. Now, another interesting fact here. Another very, very interesting fact. Australia is here. It doesn't show it very well, but you can see Papua New Guinea here for sure is very green, right? So this is a really dense rainforest, right? It's all jungle, big time jungle. They live in the jungle there. There's not any cities or in just small little towns on little outskirts for scientists and things like that, but mostly villages in the jungle. Now, also, what you don't see very well here, but you can see like northern Australia, I think if I look at another map, it's greener than what's showing here. I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'll put a map when I edit this video too. But as far as I know, the northern part here is still very much a rainforest up in this area. So it was all part of one rainforest, few 100,000 years ago or however long ago. I don't know how long. And it is also the oldest rainforest on the planet. So it has some creatures, species, birds, insects, snakes. They even have a type of kangaroo that we're going to talk about here too that lives here. That you cannot that we find all the time. Every time scientists go down there, they find a new species that we never knew existed. So it's one of the oldest rainforests, or it is the oldest rainforest in the world. They have birds there that still look like dinosaurs. Remember cassowary? No? Did I talk to you about the cassowary bird? Did I talk to you about that? And how he had the claws are bigger than my hand, and it looks like a Tyrannosaurus Rex foot. It's like a real dinosaur foot, and it even has a dinosaur thing on top of his head. Yeah. we did talk. It was this class we talked about it. That's where these are found. Very, very incredible place. I think the youngest rainforest in the world is the Brazilian rainforest, Amazon rainforest. So this country is called Papua New Guinea. Now, another interesting fact here, if we stop, see how it's shallow here? A lot of these lines that are shallow like this, you're going to see, I'm going to show you the line again here. This line here. And then over here, you can see where it's shallow like that. That's where you're going to have many little islands. And in here, you have a string of islands called the Maldives. There's islands, or maybe this is the Maldives. There's little islands in here too, because the water's shallow, yeah. We're looking for a country now. Where does the Dalai Lama come from?
India.
Well, this is India, this big triangle part. But there's another couple of countries right up here along the mountains. There's a country right in there. Okay. I'm sorry. I got that wrong. I'm not explaining it properly. I'll pause this again. Get my little marker. All right, so let's take a look here. Go India right there so I get my borders right. Okay, there we go. So yeah, it's actually a very big one. But basically the India, so the Indian border is roughly about here. Kind of borders in here along something like that, and then goes all the way up into these rivers. Somewhere's up here. And that is where Pakistan is over here. Pakistan. This is India. And in India, it used to all be part of India, but part of it went to Pakistan when they got independence. And then down here, you have another country where all the tigers live. There's another country in here. It's called Bangladesh. And it goes down something like that. That's another country. And then way up here in the mountains, there's another country called Bhutan. In the mountains. And then, of course, the border between China and India runs right through the mountains, right? So go to this side of the mountains, you're going into China territory. This side of the mountains, you're in India. So it's quite the border. Right. That's why they're so different. They're side by side, but look at Indian people and you look at Chinese people. Very, very different race, right? Very different. But that's why, because the Himalayas are the highest mountains in the world. It's very difficult to cross them. And it's for thousands of kilometers. And then there's another pretty big country right in here. That's right in the mountains along China. And it comes down all the way down to this river, I think. Right along this river and runs all the way up, probably right about up to here somewhere. There's a country in here too. But the Dalai Lama lives in a region which used to be separate on the China, but China now controls it. China took over. And it is roughly this big region, mountainous region, all in here. All the way down past Bhutan. Oh, yeah, all the way down here. Right, the way the Macau River goes into Vietnam through here. This area is called Tibet. Now, I don't know what the city, there's got to be a town or a city where they live. I don't think they have a big population, but China controls this now. It's considered part of China. But the region is called Tibet. That's where you're going to find the Dalai Lama, and they're very, very Buddhist, very religious. Tibet, up in here, right in that mountainous region near Mount Everest. Apparently a very beautiful place. This is where you find out over here, I think, is where you find all the panda bears in the lower mountain areas. All the panda bears and stuff, yeah. Tibet. I don't want to say the name of these countries because, these two countries are coming up right now. That country I just drew right in here, a big one, is this one here. This is where you're going to find Mount Everest. And that's their flag representing, what is it? The mountains and the religion, I think. The two triangles. And it is also between Tibet and, remember I said there was a country right in here somewhere? There's a country right in here. Oh, I guess like that. Somewhere is around there. There's a country. India's on this side. Tibet and China are on that side. Do you know what country that is? We hired a teacher from there once. Oh, no, we didn't. We were going to hire a teacher from there. Instead, we hired a teacher from Thailand. That's right. The country is Nepal. Nepalese people. Nepal. That's the country that's where you have the highest mountain in the world, in Nepal. But I think Nepal is independent from India, but I think at one time it was part of India, and I very much connected. I think Nepal kind of protects them, and Bhutan, they can share their armies and different things like that. Yeah, so Nepal. All kind or sort. Animals, plants, trees, all living things on the planet.
Creature?
Well, there are creatures, but I don't know if we call a tree a creature. I think a creature has to be like a sentient being, like where we think and move and hunt and eat. A little bit different than a tree or a plant or a flower. I think. Could be wrong. I'm pretty sure creature has to be in the animal field, the animal kingdom. House cats. They're in the same family as the lion, but our cat doesn't look like a lion. And even dogs. All dogs come from wolves. But it's hard to believe when you see a chihuahua.
Breed?
What is it? A breed.
Breed.
Well, I don't know. We call people breeds. No. Starts with an S. You know this word. I'm sure we've had it before. All the different of our world.
Species.
Yeah, species. Yeah. It's funny how the turtle and the tortoise are very, very similar with their big shell, but very, very different in what they can and can't do. All right, look at this tortoise. He's got feet and like claws, and you can't put him in. If you put him in the ocean, he can't swim. He sinks to the bottom and drowns. But then the sea turtle developed flippers, and he could swim across the ocean. Amazing. Our world is amazing. And when you look at all the life and the creatures that this one planet in our galaxy, not even the universe, but in the universe too, has made, and how intricate. It starts from the algae in the water that the small microbe fish and shells eat, and then the bigger fish eat that, and the bigger fish eat that, and how the plants on the ground grow, and the insects and the bees and everything take the nectar and everything out of the flowers, and they create honey, and then the birds and the smaller animals eat the insects, and then the bigger animals eat the animals, and then the humans eat animals and grow plants. All that life on this planet. There has to be life somewhere else in our universe. There just has to be. It's just too much. But we do have a special planet. All right, so there's your normal kangaroo that you see all over the place in Australia. All over the place. They run around like crazy. They're very highly populated from what I understand. No shortage of them. But way over up in the rainforest, up in the north, I think it's Papua New Guinea or north, I forget where now. If it's Australia side or maybe both. This guy is from the kangaroo family too. But he's evolved over 1 million years very differently, or hundreds of thousands of years. This kangaroo lives in the trees. If you want to find him, you got to look for him up in the jungle trees. He lives up there like the monkeys. You see the long tail on him? He's called a tree kangaroo. Because, of course, the kangaroos in Australia don't live in trees. They run around the fields. Hop, 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 hop everywhere. Not these guys. These guys hop, 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 and climb trees and live in the trees. But it's another marsupial, meaning it has a pouch. The baby sleeps inside their pouch in front of their belly. Yeah. So another new species they found in Papua New Guinea. I don't know when, but not that long ago, I don't think. What are those things? It's in the first picture on our intro.
Fire.
Oh, I gave the word up. Son of a gun. Yeah, they're called fireflies. We can't find this picture anymore. I don't know where they got it. But that's what happens. The tail illuminates at nighttime. And when they fly around, and they always fly around with hundreds and hundreds of them, and that's what it looks like. It's like all these little lights are flying around. When I was a kid, I lived in the countryside, so I saw fireflies a lot when I was a kid in the country. And we would go and catch them with our hands, and put them in a jar or something, and they'd make like a little light for outside, and then of course let them go and they'd fly away again. Miss Lay said that when she was a little girl, she grew up between Kumfa and Halong, right where the border is, just before you get to the. She lives like she grew up almost walking distance to the Mega Mart. Not the Mega Mart. Yeah, Mega Mart. The Mega Mart that you have going to Halong halfway. It's about 20 kilometers from Kumfa. Right in that village area. That's where she grew up. And she said when she was a little girl, there was lots of fireflies around too, and they too would catch the fireflies and stuff. Have you ever seen a firefly?
One or two, yeah, 2 times.
1 or 2 times. Where did you see them?
In my house.
In your house or around the house?
In my house.
Oh, they went in the house. Okay. Lily, or Mimi, did you ever see them?
No, I didn't see them.
Yeah, I haven't seen any in a very long time. Lay too says she hasn't seen them in a very long time. I don't think I never read any history or studies on these flies, these flies, but what I understand just from what I've heard before is that you don't usually find them in the cities where there's lots of people and buildings. They usually live on the edges of forests and fields, and that's where they would feed. They're not gonna live in your backyard. They live in the foresty areas. So if you live in the countryside, chances are you're going to see them a lot more than if you're living in Kumfa. And if you're living in Hanoi, then you'll probably never see them. Yeah. Fireflies. They're really cool to look at. Now, these guys are harmless, but they're terrible for farmers. And they're big. They're as big as my hand. They're not grasshoppers. They're from the grasshopper family. I think they are. What do you call these?
Locusts.
Yeah, these are the locusts. Now, I don't know what countries has locusts. I know they have them in Africa, of course. They have everything in Africa.
They look scary.
Well, they do look scary, but you can pick them up, and they're not dangerous to people at all. When I was a kid, we used to catch grasshoppers with our hands, no problem. Hard to catch because they jump really far. It's like springs on their legs. Unbelievable how far they could jump. But I've never seen a locust. And a locust, like I say, I've seen pictures. Someone has one in their hand, and it's like the length of their hand. That's how big it is, like really big. And some size of a thumb, I guess, different sizes. But what happens with these guys, and I think they have them in Africa for sure, and the reason they're so bad, these large and hot areas and flies in large groups, I don't know if you have them in Vietnam or not, but they travel in large groups. Like when they fly through a farm, there's millions of them. I've seen videos where someone has taken out their phone and filmed them as the locusts come through, and they come through just one day, like for an hour. They come through your farm or something, and they eat everything in their path. So like they'll come in millions of them. It's like you can't see through them. There's so many. And then they eat up all the corn and all the food and everything, and then they fly away. And then the farmers are like, ah, my food. So I don't know how they combat that. I don't know anything about. I just know that they're very bad and rough on crops. Right here, and destroy plants and crops. I would like to see a little documentary on locusts and how they cycle and migrate and where they attack and what people do to protect their food from them. And they are scary looking things. If they were big like a motorcycle or something, I'd be scared of them. All insects are scary looking if you look at them with a microscope or a magnifying glass. Ah! They look like crazy monsters. With their tentacles and their claws and thank God they're small. But yeah, like I was saying about the dinosaur age, everything was bigger there. So even the rats were bigger than dogs. And lots of insects were really, really big. But the oxygen, the air was very different. Things grew much bigger than it does today. Locusts. Now, another beautiful cat.
Fox? I don't know, not fox.
No, it's the cat family now. You see this a lot in Canada.
I saw this on TikTok.
What is it?
I saw this cat on TikTok.
Yeah, me too.
Fox. Yeah, no, fox is the dog breed, the wolf breed. This is the cat breed. And they got really big furry paws so they can walk in the snow. And they have short pointy tails and they have these really pointy ears. And they have like a beard. They're a beautiful cat. It's called a lynx. A lynx. Now, they're also called bobcats. I'm pretty sure I checked this the other day. And they're slightly different. There's also what they call a bobcat. They're rare to find. They're hard to see. I've never seen one in the wild. They're very, very sneaky. They hide really, really well. Of course, cats are very, very quiet. Bobcat, here we go. What do they say about that? I know there's a little bit of a difference. What is it? The bobcat, also known as the red lynx. Okay. A medium-sized cat native to North America. Yeah, so we have them up in Canada and in the U.S. too, in the mountains. It ranges from southern Canada, all the way down through the mountains, I think, all the way down to Mexico. Canada through most of the contiguous United States to Oaxaca in Mexico. It is listed as least concern to the IOU red list. So endangered species, maybe 2000, due to a wide distribution and large population. So no, there are lots of them. They're not big cats. They know that their size is small dogs, I guess. But of course they're dangerous. Imagine getting into a fight with a wild cat the size of a dog, a medium-sized dog. Yeah, not good. Not good. But and they like to eat, see again, food chain, right? They like to eat squirrels. That's what they like to chase. Squirrels, rabbits. The little black hair. What do they call it? What do they call it? A tuft of hair. Tuft. T-U-F-T. This is called a tuft of hair. Little pointy bit. The bobcats don't have that on their ears. Only the lynx do. On the tip of their ears. And lynx have longer legs than the bobcats and bigger paws. So they're a bigger cat. But they look a lot the same. If you just see one in the forest really quick, it's hard to tell which one it is. It's like trying to differentiate different wolves, like a timber wolf and a gray wolf or an Arctic wolf. Hard to tell the difference. But beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cats. Anybody know what kind of fish this is?
I just saw it on a game.
You saw it on a game,
I saw it on a game called Play Together.
What's the game called?
Play Together.
Play Together?
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to play with this guy. This guy is dangerous. What is it?
Scorpion fish.
Yeah. Yeah, now I'm looking at some pictures here of scorpion fish, and I'm getting very confused between the scorpion fish and the lionfish. But one picture here looks like that. I'm going to check some images here real quick. There are some different looking. Some of these scorpion fishes, some of them have the long fins that stick out like that. I mean, it's really beautiful. It looks like the peacock of a fish, yeah? Kind of looks like a peacock. But the lionfish, the stonefish, there's a lot of similarities between these fish. And I'm looking at Google here, and some of these fish, they just look like aliens. I don't know where in the world these things came from. Poof. There's some really wild-looking fish out there, for sure. But this one apparently is a scorpion fish, not a lionfish. Now let's take a quick look at a lionfish to see if I can see anything different there. Yeah, see, now I'll tell you. If I were to guess, I would say that this picture was wrong on Storyblocks, and that this is not a scorpion fish. I believe this is a lionfish. Because when I look at the lionfish here, that it has all this, I don't know what you call it, plumage. Like I say, it looks like a peacock. This looks like a lionfish to me. And from what I remember, lionfish, stonefish, and yeah, that is definitely a lionfish, not a scorpionfish. So let's see. Could you think a shark can eat that with all its spines? What do you think? Do you think sharks can eat lionfish? Let's see.
No, maybe no.
Reef sharks are thought to be one of the few animals that can choke down a lionfish to avoid the toxic spines in its back and tail fins. They eat the fish starting at its mouth. Okay, so reef sharks, which I think, as far as I know, reef sharks are that people swim with reef sharks. They're not very dangerous to people compared to bull sharks, tiger sharks, and all those guys. Okay, so that's a lionfish. We were wrong. What's this furry fella, spiny little guy? This guy's quite amazing. You don't want to attack him either. It's not a hedgehog, Zorro. Now, we had lots of these where I grew up. I've seen a few of them. Often you'd see them, they'd get hit by cars when they were crossing the road. But a lot of the local dogs, we always had problems with our dogs because dogs would chase these guys and they'd try to bite them. And then the dog would bite them and he'd have all these needles and pins. They're called, what are they called again? Quills. And they'd be all in his mouth, on his face, everywhere. And the dog would be crying. And we'd have to take the dogs to the vet, and then they'd have to take each one out. Oh, it's not a fun thing. These animals, yeah, they don't like to bite these guys. Not a good idea. Very dangerous. It's called the porcupine.
I haven't heard about it before.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, these guys are pretty cute, but yeah, you see these guys, you just stay away from them. They can cause a lot of pain. Porcupines are a large rodent with coats of sharp spines or quills that protect them against predators. Yeah, because you can't bite it. May go about his business. Yeah, usually the porcupine is not going to bother you. It sees you, it's just going to turn around and walk away. It doesn't want to have nothing to do with us. It'll go about its business. Regrowing its loss. Okay, so once it uses its quills to defend itself, the spikes, they'll just regrow new ones for the next time someone gets too close. The quills are certainly effective in protecting the porcupine, but unfortunately may seriously harm or even kill the victim. Now, yeah, because that causes a lot of problems. Imagine an animal, a dog especially, or any animal, trying to bite it, and then you have all these spines in your mouth. You can't get them out. So they're probably going to have infections. And yeah, you could die, I guess, if they're not treated. May seriously harm or even kill victims. Porcupine attacks can vary from a few quills to several hundred quills in one attack. That's a lot. Are they aggressive? No. Can porcupine shoot its... Oh, yeah, this is what I wanted to know. I heard they could shoot their quills. Shoot, meaning like shoot them out at something for defense. Porcupines cannot shoot them out at predators. No, they're stuck on the skin until you bite them, and then they get released. At once, though, but the quills do detach easily when touched. Many animals come away with porcupine encounter with quills protruding from their own snouts and body. Yeah, so if you touch them, they can stab you. Leave them alone. Another creature. What do we call this guy? It's like a snake, but it's not a snake. But they're long and skinny in the water. There's many different species of this and breeds, of course. A lot of people eat them. There's even an electric one. I once saw a crocodile. I think it was in the Amazon. This crocodile saw this electric one going by, and the crocodile came up and went to bite it, and it was like and then he let him go, and the crocodile was like still shaking in the water, got electrocuted. Now only 3 letters on this guy. You know what we call these guys? A long, thin, snake-like fish.
Another fish, but I don't remember the name.
It's called an eel. Yeah. It's called an eel.
I know this kind of the snake on the screen in Marriott area.
And this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is a moray eel, I think, if I remember the picture we took. There's moray eels. There's like barracuda
It's a
eels.
bad character in Ariel.
Oh, it's a bad character in one of the stories you read.
Yeah.
Oh, what's the name of the story?
Ariel. I don't remember.
Ariel? Okay. I don't know that. Yeah, well, I wouldn't say they have great names. Some are edible. I remember when I was in Hong Kong, I had some eel in one of the restaurants there. It was good. I liked it, actually. It tasted quite good. I don't know what kind of eel it was. There was that, and then there's the barracudas too. They're quite aggressive. They got big teeth. And my mom and dad went deep sea fishing once, and I don't know what they were fishing for, but they ended up catching a lot of barracudas. And they're aggressive, from what I understand. But they're different from the sea snakes. Sea snakes are different. And I think it's the white and black ringed ones. Those ones are like poisonous. You got to be careful. And like I say, there's the electric eel. That's an interesting one to watch. And I've seen some experiments with it. It's got it can generate electricity and electrocute anybody who tries to bite it. It's like Spider-Man's enemy, Electro. Quite the defense. And our last one today, another incredibly beautiful bird that only lives way up north in the Arctic. You're gonna find them like in Iceland and Greenland and maybe on the coast of like Norway in the mountains. They usually live on the edge of mountains along the oceans of the North Atlantic in very cold areas. They're kind of like the northern penguins. Penguins live all in the south, right? They don't live in the north. But these guys can fly. Penguins can't fly, of course. Have you ever seen these guys? Gee, why are the settings on our videos? We're doing everything by ourselves right now, so I apologize. The girls are all on holidays. For Tet, they've all gone home now. So we're doing all the slides and videos ourselves and all the settings, and we forgot to hit the auto replay. So every slide here, I have to keep hitting play again. But aren't they beautiful? Look at those amazing beaks they have. Bright colored beaks. They're just so beautiful. I don't know how big they are, but they're called puffins. It's a puffin bird.
They look so cute.
They are. They're just beautiful little birds. And they live in some of the most beautiful places. I watched a documentary on it last year about the puffin birds and where they live and how they make their nests up on the cliffs along the ocean. And had some videos of them. The puffin browser too. That's another browser. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the puffin bird, not web browser. So who makes puffin web browser? Cloud Mosa. Initial release date. Puffin, just like Google. You can use a browser called Puffin for Windows, Mac. Developer Cloud Mosa Inc. Engine Blink. Oh, I'll have to check it out. Try it. They didn't go extinct. The main threat to puffin change is disturbance in the number of small fish, while ground predators, rats, minks, cats, they like to hunt the puffin birds. Introduced breeding colonies. Populations are also serious hazard. Also, they're in trouble. Their numbers are going down. Okay. Yeah, they fish. They feed on small fish, so they fly and they go down and catch fish when they see them. So they must have really good eyes. And again, it's all up in that northern Atlantic area. So probably up in Norway. Probably have some there, Iceland and Greenland. Yeah, puffins, beautiful little guys. All right. So break time. I don't remember the name of that age, but some of the fossils, the mammals of that time, were huge. Like I said before. You know, if you have rats that are that big, and you know they had birds that, you know, were 2-3 meters tall. You know, it had to be a very different environment and atmosphere. And that's what I understood. And most things, that's why the dinosaurs became so big at that time. And the plantation would have been different with the different atmospheres and weather and air and carbon in the air. The pterodactyl bird, the dinosaur bird, that big, I don't know how big they could get, but they were really big. But that was kind of weird. Some of the images say that the bird didn't have feathers, but I think there's other evidence to say that it did have feathers. That's like the raptor too. They think now that the raptor was a feathered dinosaur, which the theory is that the birds are ancestors to the dinosaurs. So you can see the difference in the sizes. The birds don't get very big, but that has to do with something about the climate. Because apparently it's the same kind of bone structure and different DNA stuff that they found, that the birds are the ancestors of many of the dinosaurs, but they're all feathered and they have the same feet as a dinosaur and the same little arms, that their wings and different things. Who knows? You know, every decade and all the different research and everything they keep finding all over the world and uncovering, we get more and more information. There's a new civilization, some more relics. Where is it? Is it in Turkey or Georgia or somewhere's over there? And they found these like village, like tools and walls and systems, and it's dating back like 12,000 years ago, which is way before the Egyptian pyramids. And it's changing history now too, and now that suggests that we started agriculture and growing farms and having markets that far back, which we didn't think that we did, that it wasn't that long ago that we started farming and doing agriculture. And there's some more stuff that's come out in Egypt now with new finds again as they keep digging under the sand. And some people are saying, some scientists, archaeologists, and what's the other one? Archaeologists and paleologists, I think, is the other one. They're saying now that they believe there's evidence to suggest that kingdom, the empire, the Egyptians, was actually rebuilt, and that they had 2 or 3 kingdoms before that, because of the stuff they're finding underground that date back way before the 5,000 years ago, the Egyptian pyramids. So we just keep finding more and more things. Now with digital satellite imagery and the laser technology that they have, they found now with these scans and these graphs that apparently millions of people lived in the Amazon River, the Amazon jungle, thousands of years ago, and that they had huge societies and just as advanced as the Egyptians were, where they're finding all these old pyramids under the earth, and walls and forted farmlands and tools, and it's like, what? It's just crazy. There was a Spanish explorer, 500 years ago. That's not that long ago, right? When Christopher Columbus discovered the Americas, and the Spanish and the Portuguese and the French and everybody started coming to North America and South America. And one captain ship explorer traveled up through the Amazon River 500 years. It would have been 500 years ago or close to it. And his reports and his notes and everything of his journey, he said there were cities and people all along the river, everywhere. There was millions of people, or maybe he said thousands, all over the place. Lots of people. But yet you go up the Amazon now and you find the odd little tribe. You don't see any pyramids. You don't see any big cities and like the Mayan temples and all these things. So they thought he was crazy until these new satellite images and everything have come in. And apparently now it's like all these civilizations basically died a few hundred years ago. And they think most of them died because of the Europeans that came. Because when the Europeans came, of course, I don't have exact numbers or true factual numbers, but there are estimates. Some reports have been published saying that when the Spanish and the French and the English came over, it wasn't that we killed everybody and took their land. Some reports say that 80 to 90% of the people, especially down in the Amazon, all died from disease, that we brought diseases and it spread through these nations. And that's what killed all these people because it was so isolated. Very interesting stuff. All right. So definitely not going to see either one of you again for a couple of weeks for sure. Not this next week. We won't have a class. As I said, I don't know if we're going to have a class the week after. That will depend if you guys are available or not. We'll be back to work, of course. So I want to wish you all a happy new year and a really wonderful Tet.
Thank you.
Have a good holiday, Minnie. Have a good holiday, Lily. And Paris. I'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.